Hi there. I want to talk about 5 things that you want to consider doing for the rest of 2024. Now, we are currently in our summer season, most places in the world. I know that a lot of places have, different seasons called summer, but we're sort of in that July, August phase where there's a lot of holidays, children are out of school, and, things are going on. People are taking breaks, and it's kind of like the middle of the year, or just a bit past the middle of the year. But it's a really, really good time to practice these things, because what often happens is come September, things start to pick up again in terms of how things were in the earlier start of the year, and it can just feel like a bit of a whirlwind of September to November. Suddenly it's December, and we all know that not much happens in December by way of wanting to look at your goals and things like that and get things done. So it's really important that we learn to sort of work backwards in a sense, and think about things that we can implement. So I practice some of these. I will be doing these as well, just as well as you. So I wanted to share these things with you about things you could start to really implement and start thinking about doing now, especially for some of you that would be to what you consider to be downtime, a bit of a quietness maybe with the things you do every day. So perhaps, you can actually start to do this. And I would caveat with saying with all of these 5 things, you do need to make the time, but the time investment that you make will outweigh, the benefit you will get will far outweigh the time investment that you initially start with. So the first thing I want to encourage you to do firstly is take a break, rest, take a break. Maybe you've been going at it for however many months, and, it's been one thing after the other. This is a nice season to take a break. You might not be able to go anywhere, but try to incorporate breaks. Maybe you can take an extra day on, the either side of the weekend to do a long weekend. Maybe you can, go and take a break from maybe a Wednesday or whatever. Maybe it's just the weekend. You know your schedule best. But I encourage you to take a break. Take some time to get out of your regular routine, to retreat, ideally to get out of your normal, environment, because that makes a very, very big difference. If you're like me, I know some people are fine with it, but getting out of your normal environment kind of opens your eyes up to just, understanding that the world is vast. There's more to it, and it usually inspires, ideas, thoughts. You just see the bigger picture. You're interacting with different people, new things, so it's always a good idea to do so. So encourage you to take a break as much as you can and get some rest. Then you want to also take some time to evaluate and assess, or assess and evaluate. Assessing is sort of looking at how things have gone. So this would be where you're looking at, how the year has gone for you so far. Did you have goals at the start of the year? How did you fare on those goals? Did you not have goals? Did you just start the year and coast, and, just looking at assessing things in their true context. Now, you don't want to do so with a mindset of, feeling down, or because this can be a bit of it can be, if you really want to do it well, it can sometimes feel like it's rocking the boat, but you want to think about it as you are the only one who's going to benefit from it the most. So if you choose not to look at things and you choose to ignore things that maybe need to be looked at further down the line, you would at some point have to do it. So don't beat yourself up about it. We always have other chances. If things didn't go well, maybe you didn't, you haven't even looked at your goals. You wrote them on the 2nd of January and the notebook, you don't even know where the notebook is. Whatever the case is, you want to assess where you are. And also in assessing where you are, celebrate your wins. When I say assess, I always think about reflecting. I always think of practicing gratitude. You may not have had goals, but you can, look how the months have gone and look at the things that went well, write them down, celebrate the wins, thank the people that have played a pivotal role in your life for these, for these, 6 months or 7 months that have gone by. So do it wholly, assess it, practice gratitude, evaluate. Okay, why didn't I actually get those goals done? Was I just lazy? Or was it that I didn't have the right discipline? Was it that I just, made very lofty goals that just seemed unattainable? Did I not put action plans in place? So you want to do that. And then I'm doing this thing now where I'm actually asking myself the deeper questions of why I didn't get this thing done. And if it feels like it's a very deep question or very deep, answer or response, then I'm going to break down why that's a deep answer, like why the answer is so deep and what I therefore need to do to break it down and attack it. Because most of the time it might not really be to do with you solely. It might be that you really wanted to do this thing, but you needed to rely on, that you had this barrier. For me, there's this barrier of something that I need to get past and think about a lot more. So what I need to do is break down how I'm going to create the time to put some thoughts into it, seek advice, rely on people that are more experienced, etc., etc. So you want to make sure you take some time out to do that, and that will take some time. I would say to you, allocate a weekend for this activity so that you're just spending your weekend, really thinking deep and, doing some deep thought work, basically on how you address that. The next thing I want to say to you is take some time out to re-energize and recalibrate. Some of us have been going, and we haven't had the chance to recalibrate. So as you rest, as you evaluate, also make sure you're looking at, your energy cycles in terms of like your bursts of energy, how you're faring in terms, I'm talking about physical energy here, right? So, it's really important because to get things done, to execute, you are the most important factor in all of that, right? If you are not whole, if something's not right with you, then you can't actually function. Even if you had something that was systemized, it would still require your input to some extent, right? And sometimes the input is your mind, your thoughts, and you want to make sure you have enough energy to do that. So look at, the things that are sapping your energy. Are you wasting too much time doing things that you shouldn't be doing? Are you having conversations you shouldn't be having? Are you spending too much time on social media? Those kinds of things, right? But also I want you to look at your diet, look at your nutrition, look at your supplements, look at your exercise. Now, most places where it's summertime, there's sunshine, take walks, these things are really important. I wish I knew them earlier in my life, but get fresh air, go on walks, and go on walks where you're not constantly listening to music or listening to something as well. Just let nature, just do those things, right? Because so a lot of those things will help to re-energize you as well. Look at your nutrition. Are you drinking enough water? What are you consuming? Because that's also going to, a lot of the food we consume, processed food. I'm speaking to myself here as much as all of you, right? A lot of the food we consume, when it's very processed, requires a lot of energy to digest. So it's almost like it saps more energy from us as well, rather than giving us energy. Look at supplements. Do you need to start taking something to kind of bring your energy, up to par, etc., and all of that? In the link that you will find, there's a link in the bio. You would find a link to a list, like a sort of one of these not wish list per se, but like a list from Amazon, basically. I'm not saying you have to get these on Amazon, but it contains, what I would call as my sort of productivity, excellence, my wellness list, right? So it has a few of those things that you may find useful as well. So think about, re-energizing, recalibrating, starting to exercise. Maybe you have been laxing with the gym or something. Start to say, okay, well, these are brighter days, maybe not as cold. If you're in that sort of hemisphere, start to put my energy into those kinds of things and just get yourself going. You'll find that will give you a lot more in terms of your energy, so that you can start to build a habit that becomes part of you, so that when you're in kind of full deep work mode, you already have your energy. You're not looking about one routine you need to start thinking about as well. The very next thing, which is number 4, I would say, is have an action plan. So you've got all of these things on, you've evaluated, you've reflected, you've assessed everything, you've re-energized, recalibrated. From your evaluation assessment, you would see part of that process, I should mention, is actually then seeing, okay, by the end of the year, where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? Because I want to encourage you and tell you that we've got about 5 months left to the end of the year. A lot can happen in 1 month. Major things can happen in 5 months. It just takes, being streamlined. It takes getting some focus, fighting for your focus, and really just putting in the work as needed, and of course, letting all the other things, work for you as directed. But, you want to make sure that you're not viewing your outlook isn't like, oh my gosh, it's already gone, that's it. 5 months, things can happen. Also, at the end of the year, it doesn't mean your life doesn't continue. It continues, right? So never box yourself into like a time period thinking something can't happen. A lot can happen in 3 months. There's a book called The 12-Week, I think it's a 12-week year or something like that. Talks about how you can, categorize your year, or you can literally have, 4 years in 1 year, basically, if you break things up into a 3-month cycle. I encourage you to read that, or you can go to the audio summary book and get some tips from that as well as to how you can implement that. But the point is that a lot can happen in 5 months. Please do not beat yourself up about it. For a lot of you, me included, it probably feels like we're starting the year, and let it be. Yes, let this be my January and July. I don't know if anyone remembers that. If you live in the UK, I think that happened probably about 2021 or something like that. There was this thing about January and July, and it can be your January and July. You can start again, and you can even make more progress than somebody who's been like at it for the whole year. That's not the goal. We're not looking to compete, but I'm just saying that a lot can happen. It just requires the focus and really zoning into what needs to take place. So you want to put together an action plan, and your action plan will be, okay, these are the 5 core things I want to make sure I address this year. This is how far I want to go. How am I going to execute them? How am I going to break them down? What am I going to do in each week, each day to get this thing done? How am I going to break it down? Am I going to have a weekly check-in every Wednesday on this particular task? Am I going to set a meeting up with certain people to make sure we're getting it done? Is this something that involves a group? Therefore, we're going to agree now that we're going to meet every week at X and X time. No matter what's going on, we are going to do it. So put those things in place. Get an action plan to be able to do that. There's all sorts of templates and things online that you can use to, put your action plan in place. Then the very last thing I want to mention, who knows, there might be a bonus, is ensuring that you have the right systems and structures to sustain your action plan. So what probably may have been your problem if you did do a lot of these things at the start of the year was you did not have the right framework to execute, and execution is that's the kind of real game changer, because you can game change in your mind, you can make all the plans, you can have all the wonderful ideas, you can write it down, but if you do not execute, then it's like, what's happened? It's like almost doesn't count, right? So execution is what we're trying to get to. And to support our execution, we need the right systems and structures to be able to do that. So what does that mean? It means that where you can automate things, you have the automation in place. It means that if you're committing to say you're going to check in every, maybe you said every Wednesday is your check-in day on your progress on all of these items. You put that in your calendar. You don't book anything else for Wednesday. You make sure that you are, you're keeping that time as diligently as you would say, I have this really important meeting that's going to, make me money, or going to, help to build my career further, whatever it may be, and you make the time for it. That's how you think about that as well. You make sure you have the disciplines. You put accountability in place. Accountability is very important. You can do it with people, and you can do it with structures, right? So you can say, this is my accountability structure. Doesn't involve anyone per se, but maybe I only reward myself with X after I've done this. So that's kind of an accountability structure, if you like. You can also have a community of people that you're accountable to. Leverage people like your mentors. Friends are good, but you have to pick the friends that you're going to have the accountability with, because not everybody, is going to be able to operate at the level at which you want to when it comes to accountability. It might be that just your friend. We all have friends that serve different purposes, so you need to think well about who's going to, help. Somebody I love dearly, I heard her talk about, do something where maybe you actually give your friend some money, right? And say, you're going to hold this $500 for me because, and you're going to only give it back to me when I have done X, right? So that's your accountability. You can choose to do that if you want to. Maybe yours is $5,000. I don't know. Whatever you know that is like oh my gosh, I need to get this money back. Somebody trusted, right? And again, I say trusted. So that's a way, whether you can also do a group accountability, set up something, right? And maybe you meet every month, every 3 weeks, evaluate how you're all going and all doing, so that you can encourage yourself, charge yourself on, especially if you have something in common that you're trying to achieve. But ensure you have the right systems and structures. I mean, systems and structures can be all over the place. You can put them in all sorts of ways. You can say, well, I'm going to have, this thing on my phone that's going to ensure that I do not look at this app beyond 10 p.m. I need to get that app, right? I'm not going to look at this app beyond 10 p.m. It's going to shut down this for me. I'm going to make sure that, I have, I want to save more money. So I'm going to have like a cap on maybe my spend. I know for mobile phone companies do this, right? So they have a spend cap, maybe if you go abroad or whatever it is, right? So that's a system to keep you accountable, to ensure you stay within that amount. There's all sorts of things when it comes to budgeting and things like that, but ensuring you have that would be, really hugely beneficial. So those are the 5 things I want to leave you with at this time. I want to encourage you, as I say, the year is not over. It's not over. Amazing, amazing, amazing things you can make progress and headway in the next 5 months. So do not be discouraged. Use this time wisely. It might be downtime for many. Don't use it as a complete, you're just going to just be totally lazy. But if you want to think, I want to get things together, especially in these days we live in, right? You want to get things, going, and you want to really reevaluate what's going on and see where you need to make major changes. And we're all thinking about how we can make change. What do we need to do, right? So use this time to do that. So for those of us in hemispheres where we know it's going to get dark and cold, and sometimes that affects your level of motivation, leverage this time of brighter days, longer days, and more sunlight to be able to get your energy up again, get motivated again, start to you see life in a different way. And one bonus I will add with you is, in all of this, please be very conscious of what you're plugging into, be very conscious of what you're listening to, and your self-talk, or just that whole kind of mindset, right? These things only get sustained by an accompanying mindset that can hold it. If you have a mindset that is like, well, I can't do this, it's not going to work, never works for me, works for other people, and you tell yourself these lies, right? That, voices want you to listen to, then you're just going to keep tripping yourself up. So also, maybe my final bonus is, in all of this as well, if you find that that's something you're struggling with from a mindset perspective, you want to then say, okay, well, if I'm struggling with this thing from a mindset perspective, then I need to address where it's coming from. And so you want to get to, you want to do a bit of excavation. Sometimes that's necessary, especially if you find you've been in these cycles of doing all these things I said. Let this be the time where you say, I'm going to do some excavation and healing, and there's all sorts of things that can help you do that. I'm sure if you speak to the right people, you'd be able to get to that point. But if you need more, feel free to DM us. Thank you very much. I hope you found this helpful. Make sure you use your summer wisely, and remember, a lot can happen in 5 months, even in 3 months. A lot can happen. So I want to hear the amazing, amazing, amazing testimonies that you will be sharing at the end of the year. Take care.